In this video, I'm going to weigh each of my drones. Now, this is going to be the total takeoff weight, so it's going to be everything that would be attached to the drone when it's ready to take flight, including the battery, propellers, SD cards, and everything else that may be attached to the drone. Now, this is not going to be considering action cameras like GoPros or DJI Actions or anything like that, so I'll weigh those individually, but the scale I'll be using here is just a simple Amazon Basics scale, and we'll be using grams as our unit. Let's kick things off with my toy drone. This is my first drone here. This is the Sharper Image DX2, and it weighs 44 grams. Next up is the new DJI Neo. Battery is installed, and it weighs in at 135 grams. Next up is the iFlight Alpha A85 4S with a battery attached. Weighs in at 141 grams. Next is the geprc cinelog 25. That's a 4S as well, 229 grams. Next, let's go to the betafpv pavo 30, another 4S drone. Weighs 285 grams with that battery attached. Now let's move to the DJI Avata. Now this is the Avata 1. I do have a 3D printed GoPro mount on the top, so that's going to add a little bit of weight here. With the battery and that GoPro mount, we're at 424 grams for the Avata 1. Next, this is the cinelog, or the geprc cinelog 35, so the larger version of the 25. This is a 6S quad, weighs in at 455 grams. Now moving to my custom built drones. This is a 6S race build that is a 5-inch, and it weighs, with the battery, 503 grams. This is my fastest drone by far. Next, this was my first FPV drone. This is a 5-inch 4S build, more of a freestyle build. With the battery and everything attached, we are at 589 grams. Here's another 6S quad, and this is a bind and fly. So this is the iFlight Nazgul Evoque 6S. It's a dead cat frame here, and with the battery attached, it is 621 grams. It's a pretty chunky drone, but it still can move. Now this is the DJI FPV. I'll take that camera cover off, and huge battery pack attached on this one. See if I can get this thing to balance here. Everything on there, this drone comes in at a whopping 793 grams. This drone is not very light and kind of deserving of the nickname Potato. And lastly, here's the DJI Mavic 3. Now this is the first Mavic 3 that released. It's not the Pro, it's not the Cine, it's not the Classic, so it does have the dual camera system. Love this thing. And it comes in at exactly 900 grams with everything attached. I do have a variable ND filter on there, and the battery and the SD cards and all the propellers, so it's a pretty chunky drone, but you still get over a half an hour of flight time with this thing. Now let's take a look at these action cameras, because you may fly with some of these attached to the drones depending on what kind of footage you're trying to capture. So I have 4 here. These are my primary action cameras that I use for different types of situations. First up, let's take a look at the DJI Action 2. Now this is the smallest action camera that I have. I use this one quite a bit, and it is coming in at 57 grams. Next up, this is the DJI Bones. This was an interesting camera. This is actually the Hero 10 that's kind of stripped down from GoPro Direct and just kind of purpose built for FPV, and it weighs only 60 grams. So a pretty sweet camera, but it does not have an included battery, and it's really annoying to power this thing. You have to have a special wiring kind of harness for it, but it is a pretty sweet, interesting, unique little unit. Next, I have the GoPro Hero 11 Black Mini, and it weighs 131 grams. So even though it's mini, it still has a ton of chunk on it. Now a lot of that comes from the heat sink that's on the back of this thing to keep it cool. And then here we're moving to a full-size GoPro. This is the Hero 12 Black, so it's a year old. There is a Hero 13 now, which it's pretty much exactly the same thing. but the full-size GoPro comes in at 152 grams. So you can add those weights to whatever drones that you're going to be attaching action cameras to. You know, any of them that have this kind of mount attached to it would be able to accept any of those action cameras. So that's the weight for each drone in my collection. I've got quite a few here, so if you have any questions about these drones or just FPV drones in general, maybe you're looking to get into the hobby, you're not sure where to start, something like that, go ahead and throw a comment on this video and I'll make a point to answer each of those questions. This is an awesome hobby. I'd love to see more people get into it. I know it's expensive, but if you ask me, it's totally worth it. And you just got to start small and grow from there. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider liking it and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thanks, and I'll see you next time.